Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ranjit Satyanath. I am CTO for a startup in the retail technology space. We call ourselves retail technology because we believe that we are first a technology company and what we sell is incidental. So what we sell is building and construction material because we feel that there's a great opportunity for getting a great customer experience in that space, because right now the customer experience for building and construction material is very, very fractured, if I can use that term. So we want to sort of, help you buy that category in a shopper stop kind of ambience, right? So today we are going to be talking about customer experience. So, just to get some energy going in the room, I think the number of people in the room and number of people on the stage are like neck to neck. So let me start with people in the room. So when you think of great brands doing great CX, what are the names that come to mind? Sorry? Lenskart, okay. Chroma, okay. Okay, so great brands equals great CX. Is that a right statement to make? Great brands, great CX? No? No, can you think of any great brands who's not doing great CX? Okay. Does great CX equal customer loyalty? Great CX equals customer loyalty? Yes, everybody?
Yeah.
Have you heard of a place called Bade Mia's in Mumbai? Do you think it has great CX? People who are petrol heads, have you heard of a site called teambhp.com?
Yeah.
Is it great CX?
Yeah. It is, because you can always find what you're looking for.
But I doubt there is any individual car buyer who doesn't go to Team BHP before buying. It has, actually, if you look at the UI, it's pretty primitive, but people still go there. So CX is something beyond UX and looks and things like that. So we have a very distinguished panel here who can talk about what CX means to them. So we have a very healthy mix of retailers, and we have also representation from the IT services industry, people who help these retailers deliver customer experience to their customers. So let me just go around the panel asking the retailers. You have customers visiting you online and in store day in and day out. So what are their expectations when it comes to CX? So the retailers can...
Okay, I'm not a retailer. Hi, I'm Aniket from Magicpin. Naman couldn't join in, so I'm filling in his shoes. And I see some of my friends looking at me, yaar, ye Naman itna young kaise ho gaya? So, but yeah, Magicpin is a platform. Just to give a short introduction, Magicpin is a platform which is connecting lakhs of retailers to online users. And we have 1.8 crore monthly active users. So I can answer the question that you were asking. CX is important for the users. The experience that they get on the platform, at the stores, all combined together defines whether they will return on the platform or not. For example, even if your cancellation or ticket rate is 1%, it may be that all the new users which are coming to the platform are facing those difficulties and they will never come back. If you have a user who has downloaded the app and in the first instance you're not able to delight the consumer, they will go off and your retention matrix will just fall through the roof, right? So yeah, that's the answer.
So, there are two aspects to this. So there's one aspect which is which is what you shared, which is the transactional relationship of the consumer with the brand slash platform, which is making sure whether the consumer comes back to you or not, or they keep coming back. There's another aspect which is much larger, long term. You spoke about great brands is equal to great CX. Uh, in today's date and age, I would say if you want to be a great brand, you cannot do without a great CX. So to me, CX is the cause. And everything else that follows is an effect, really. So your revenues, your consumer loyalty, the emotional connect of the consumer that drives the consumer to become a mouthpiece for you. The word of mouth, the endorsement of your products slash services to, their own peer set and so on and so forth. So I think CX works both ways. So one is it helps you drive your KPIs, which is your business linked KPIs. Second is it creates a longer term consumer relationship, which is what is going to make you stay relevant as a brand in years to come. Because, we've seen, in the last 20 years, there have been brands that have been created, beautiful brands, done very, very well, shot up like a rocket and went down like one as well. And the difference between the brands that have been able to stay consistent and grow on are the ones who've been able to deliver a very, very good, consistent, and I'm not saying radically bold, I'm saying good and consistent CX across the touch points, whether it is their stores, their online platforms, whether they're shopping shops, or even, B2B brands which deal with businesses. So long as one has seen consistency, I think CX has got one big element is consistency. That's what drives.
Rahul, you want to take a stab?
Sure. Yeah. So, continuing on your point, consistency, I also believe, is one of the key aspects of CX. Be it how you merchandise your products, right? Which products do you merchandise? Whether it's offline, online, whether it's MRT, right? Which products you are focusing on. If that keeps changing across channels, then the customers will never absorb that as a messaging from the brand. Being in fashion, we have Casio watches. In fashion, in fast fashion, your product change every quarter, every half year, right? You have new products being launched. And if you're trying to get the focus of the customer on the newest of the trends and your CX is not uniform, then customers will get confused what is new in the market, right? If you're showing something else on the website, something else in MRT, and something else in probably your EBOs or offline. So since we work in all these channels, so it's very important for us from the merchandising perspective. That's one part. The second part of it would be how you, when you do give out schemes, being a brand and being in fashion, we come out with schemes every now and then, right, as per requirement. Now for that also, a customer experience has to be smooth, because if a customer is standing in my MRT store and looking in online and seeing the price difference, then it's not just that he's going to buy online. That is just one part. I'm still getting the business. But my partner is getting dissatisfied. The partner, my MRT partner, is getting dissatisfied. The customer might feel cheated, right? That if I would not have opened the website, I would have bought the same product at a higher price point. So the customer loyalty at that point in time goes really, really down, right? For a brand. So you might have made just one customer at that point in time, but the customer might not return, considering that, it's a brand which is probably, selling, it does not have a control over it's how it is priced across channels. So I think that's another aspect that we look at when we look at customer experience. So both from the branding perspective and also from how we place the products, which products we place, and how we price the products. So I think that is very important for a brand to look at it across channels. Yeah.
Pankaj?
Yeah, I think, we have spoken a lot about pricing, transaction, consistency of interface. What I would also like to highlight is the customer experience is a holistic experience that customer is getting throughout the journey, right from customer identification and acquisition to even post-transaction. And a lot of time, we focus a lot more on the discovery and transaction phase of the journey. but sort of loses that focus when it comes to post-transaction, and that is equally important. So that is something I would like to add, and I think we spoke about pricing, which is definitely, I think it's a matter of trust when you see different pricing. At the same time, I would also see practical challenges, especially with the global brands, right? And if we take in India context, let's say what if there is a local, very local event or festival going on, right? If you take a global company, you may want to give certain deals or discounts on Independence Day, which you may not want to give. So how to balance between these two requirements that you want to show consistency of pricing is, I think, one of the other elements to look into the.
Pankaj, staying with you, see, the modern retailer has more on his plate. Business has become a lot more complex, larger spread, a lot of warehouses, customers coming through the app, from a web browser into your store. And you need to maintain consistency of experience across all of this. So, and for the customer, customer expects a great experience on all these channels. So, what are the challenges you as retailers face in satisfying those expectations?
Yeah, so I think like if I talk about Reliance, we have online channels, even online channels are different. We have JioMart, where also we are selling fashion. We have Ajio. Then we have our offline stores. And one big challenge, although we have been talking about for last 5 years or decade about omni-channel, but we are still far away from the truly omni-channel experience. Right? So one big challenge for us is definitely, how to, easier said than done. How would you provide that consistency of experience across channels? And when I say consistency, I am not only talking about merchandising, pricing, loyalty. I am also talking about friction in the customer journey. And somebody spoke about lens card, so this is something which we try to solve in the lens card, that I might have looked at site or an app, and I might have also chosen certain product in my wish list or liked certain product. But when I go to store to try them out, my journey again repeats. So instead of saying that I am looking for a prescription eyewear or half frame, the journey would start, are you looking for sunglass or eyewear and all that, right? So it is also important to reduce friction. Another example I would take, which we still face today, and I think everyone of us would have experienced, is the customer support, right? When it was only a call, you can get your resolution done. Now you are sending your problem on email. It is not resolved. You speak to chatbot, you repeat same information. It is not able to resolve. You call the customer care, you have to give the same information again, and that becomes very frustrating. So now while we have multiple channels, and we take pride in that we have chatbot, voice bot, but to customer, it is many times a worse journey than when it was only one channel.
No, at the very least, I think the customer would be delighted if the customer had, put something in their wish list. And when they came to the store and the cashier asked them, sir, you have this on your wish list, would you like to check it out? That would have been a great experience for the customer, right? Rahul, would you like to talk about Casio? What kind of challenges are you facing in Casio?
So one of the things that, at Casio, the challenges that we face.
So you have multiple channels as well, right?
Yeah, we are there in MRT, we are there in offline.
In terms of revenue, which would be your largest channel? I'm not asking numbers, but just.
Yeah, see, it depends actually, because in Casio we have watches, we have musical instruments, we have calculators, and depending on the product line, the percentage of the business that is coming from a particular channel would change. But I would say holistically, if you look at it, we are very well balanced in terms of what we are making in online and offline, as well as in MRT. So we are quite balanced there. And the challenge is that, so what we need to understand when we say CX, from a CS perspective, the key challenge is how much do you internalize that, right? When your business is not completely company owned, right? You have distributors who are buying from you, and there are objectives that distributors also have. And when you want to do a customer, when you are focusing on CX, but you forget about aligning your distributors and your channel first, then it, no matter how many discussions you do at HQ, it never, at the ground level, it never materializes. So this is one of the biggest challenges that happens. We keep talking about omni-channel, but if in your store somebody is saying bad things about your website, right, it's not truly going to happen in reality. As you just mentioned that we are still very far away from omni-channel, approach. We might just keep saying about that as a word, but in our journey of omni-channel, when we got around 200 odd distributors on our website, right, who we have integrated their inventory, and they started selling online. That was primarily at the time of COVID, right? Because offline business had gone down. But when it came up, we understand that they have further retailers to sell to where they can do bulk business. Would they do that, or would they, focus their staff in online business? So, the key challenge is actually first internal. It's not even, external that, what customer feedback is. Before that, have you first discussed internally, and is everybody aligned that, it's not a channel conflict, and it's the same customer having multiple touch points across channels, and ultimately its customer is going to decide whether it's going to buy from MRT offline or online. And he may be in offline looking at a mobile and checking our website. He may be online and then go and buy from offline because he wants to try the product. So I think the biggest challenge was first how we got everybody together, and yeah, our management played a big role in that. And we kind of sit together, like instead of sitting like silos, that offline sales is sitting aside and online is separate. We sit together, we discuss about which are going to be our key products, which are going to be our focus products across platforms, and together the decision is taken. So I spoke about the problem also and kind of how we are solutionizing it.
So Vivek, did you also feel similarly that the bigger problem is not related to technology but getting everybody on the same page?
So I agree with him 100%. And the problems are not different. The product categories may be. I think I'll take a step back and try and get to why we face these problems, because many a times in this entire euphoria of operating, revenue drive, growth, and so on and so forth, I think a checkpoint where you take a step back and decide your pivots on which you're going to base. See, you can't, and it's practically impossible for anyone to say that I'm going to fix every single nut and bolt. It's not going to happen, right? So long as I'm able to figure out the key pivots basis which my CX is going to be driven, I'm going to be able to solve 70-80% of my problems. 30% of the problems will be there, and they'll keep evolving and keep solving themselves. The challenges you spoke about of inventory being in multi-channel, it is a concern. You can try and do multiple things, some very, very conventional where you have your own people, there's standard training, so on and so forth, onboarding of the front-end team because they play a big role. And talking about the Lenskart example, one challenge, and this is something that I've been trying to fix in my stores with the limited tech that I have access to, is that when a customer walks in and when they're shopping, we sell a lot of denims and trousers. And statistically speaking, about 85% of the bottoms sold in India gets altered to the length. Every time, an adult length stays the same. If I put in the mobile number and if every single store of mine knows that this person's length is this, it's a big solve because that entire process of getting measured, standing in the shop floor, and the guy will tell you stand straight.
It's pretty embarrassing, you're standing and somebody's measuring your trousers.
It's annoying for you as a consumer, and it is not really a great experience for someone who's taking the measurement as well, so long as I know that this is the outseam that this person needs. And we've been trying to standardize, but very, very rudimentary solutions have come out so far. So, there are simple things. If I start solving simple ones, I guess that's the way I approach it, is that if I solve some small problems, I think there's some steps taken, and the team also gets encouraged to adopt a whole bunch of new things. So while there is internal problems, there's adoption issues, there's all of that that's together.
And one of the biggest problems that a customer faces, or one of the expectations of the customer is that after everything, that entire checkouts and payments process is very smooth. So Subhashini, since your company plays in the payment space, how are you helping your retail customers provide smoother experiences to their customers?
Sure. So there's been a lot of conversations about Omni, and I think Mr. Pankaj called it out perfectly well that there's no true Omni. So we moved from single channel to multi-channel, and we're just at multi-channel. The transition from multi-channel to Omni is yet to happen. But what Razorpay is trying to bridge that gap is really to get the true journey of a customer from the time he discovers a product online to the time he shops. And that shopping could happen online, that shopping could also happen offline. So online behavior is such that many customers like to browse products online, and there is a problem of abandoned carts, right? Like even I look for products online, but if something is a tad expensive, I just feel comfortable walking into a store. And sometimes that online shopping behavior is just passing time. But what if we were to find a way that the customer has discovered a product online and is actually able to see, and of course there's a lot of back-end effort involved, and that's what we are trying to make happen. Discover a store close by where he knows that the product is available, but we're actually able to track that this is the product that came from an online channel, be it social media, be it your website, or any other digital channel, and get him right through the point of swiping that QR code which he's discovered online in a store. So we are very close to reality. Rather, I would say it's almost, wouldn't be an overreach to say that's the point we've gotten to. We still have a long ways to go with respect to Omni, but definitely that's something that we as Razorpay, along with the POS payment solution company, Ezetap, is trying to accomplish. With respect, I mean, I totally agree with Rahul there in terms of incentives, right? Because there is this perception that there's channel conflict, and that's an internal problem to solve. So the way you define the KPIs for your online versus your offline should make sense actually. So yeah, that's where we are at.
So Rohit, Ginesys plays in every aspect of a retailer's automation stack. I know you guys are there. You provide ERP solutions. You provide point of sale, CDP. You enable customers become omni-channel. I agree with Subhashini. When she says that, omni-channel has not really become mainstream. It just exists in pockets. So how are you helping your customers become more omni-channel and provide a consistent experience across channels?
Yeah, I think, hi, I'm Rohit from Ginesys. We provide, as Ranjit rightly pointed out, a complete retail stack for all kinds of retailers, offline as well as online retailers. 2 years back, we identified that this is going to be a major trend of consistent customer experience online and offline. So we started working on that. One of the key challenges that we figured out was consistency of data, that is inventory data, stock data, item data, product catalog, all of that has to be in sync. The real challenge comes from the fact that 90 to 95% of people are still using on-premise systems. It becomes very difficult to sync that in a real-time basis with the web platforms which are marketplaces or could be your Shopify's and Magentos of the world. So it becomes very difficult to sync that. So we've already done a migration to a SaaS platform of our product. We've also come up with a cloud-based point of sale and a mobile-based point of sale so that everything is live sync. We've also implemented algorithms to make the offline point of sale sync in real time with the cloud. So that the data is available in real time in the online system as well, and the data flow is very seamless. We've also unified the customer information across all the channel touch points. We made sure that everything is working so that when a customer is tagged online, it's available, that same information is available offline as well, and your offline purchase history can then be synced online. But the reality is that like when you're using this, like most of the people out there are actually using disparate systems. Not everybody is using Ginesys. They're also using some other components to manage their systems, and when these systems have to work together, there's a lot of friction. Like there are multiple points of failure, and whenever there's a failure, getting teams to resolve it, getting tech teams to work together to resolve it is a big challenge for retailers. That's what I see, and it takes so much time to actually figure out what the problem is, where it lies, and where the solution is. That challenge slows down the entire adoption of Omni and multi-channel. So I think that's one of the reasons why we came up with Ginesys 1, is a single stack would help solve a lot of the problems, because most retailers, maybe Ajio can do it, and not the Reliances of the world, Tatas can afford having multiple technologies. But I think most retailers would prefer to have a simpler tech stack, which can help manage multiple channels in one place.
Yeah, I just want to go to Niraj very quickly, because Niraj, I know that you are working on a solution which enables retailers to recognize customers who have shopped online, and delight customers who do this online to offline, offline to online journeys.
Sure.
So you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah. So we've heard various aspects of what constitutes CX, customer experience. While I agree with all of that, I think there's one missing element that I'd just like to add in terms of what does customer experience stand for. So I think we are all related to the retail industry one way or the other, but I think we should not forget that we are all customers to the retail industry at all times, right? I always put myself in the shoes of a customer whenever I'm doing this. So a simple example, I checked into a hotel in Chennai. The lady at the reception gave me my key card to the room, and I took the key card, and just as I was turning around to go to my room, she told me that, and Mr. Jaipuria, we'll send you some extra sachets of green tea to your room right now. Now, after that, I have never stayed in any other hotel in Chennai. It was such a simple thing. She recognized me. Earlier when I stayed there, they actually recorded that I like green tea, I consume extra sachets. It was put in a system. So actually it's more about the SOP, the process, rather than technology. It doesn't matter whether they were using Excel or whatever, right? But the point I'm making is, when a customer gets recognized at a retail outlet, whether it's hospitality, QSR, or traditional retail, I think that constitutes to the highest, to a pretty large extent of CX, and then therefore to loyalty. So the challenge that we've seen, we are working with the retailer on this particular challenge. When a customer shops on an online channel, the online medium allows to capture customer identity even if the customer does not transact. So the moment he comes in, opens his browser through various tech methods, the user gets identified even if he did not do a transaction. Now that is a missing piece in the offline transaction state, that if a customer walks into a store, you cannot recognize the customer unless he goes to the billing counter and gives his mobile number or loyalty card or whatever, right? So we are trying to bring in a consistency of customer identification, which is available in the online but not in the offline. By building a tech solution for a particular retailer, we are piloting this with, where as soon as the customer walks into the store, of course, certain conditions being met, the brand's mobile app existing on the customer's phone, the customer gets recognized. There is actually a staff side of this mobile app where the various staff can actually get a ping saying Niraj has walked into your store. And not just that, I come from an analytics background, so it actually shows up the last 3 transactions done by Niraj in the store, whether with the brand, whether it's in the store or it's online. Imagine the staff coming up to me and telling me, welcome Niraj, how did you like the pair of shoes that you bought last time 3 months ago on a channel? So this, I think, is a different aspect from what everybody else has spoken, but I think an important point.
So Subhashini, coincidentally in the payment space, it is possible for a customer to save their card so that they don't have the hassle of, so that they can do that one-click checkout as most websites call it. So in your experience, are customers opting for that, or they prefer to just play safe and enter their card numbers each time they transact?
No, they do opt for it. They do opt for it, but again, it depends on how comfortable the customer is with that particular website or brand. So they would be wary if it's something very new, which they've never tried before. They would be wary if it's an unknown brand, but typically for brands that they have been transacting with or are well-known brands, I see that inertia is definitely being overcome. Yeah, but I don't see that as much of to be honest, I don't see that much of an issue. I mean, even if they were to enter the number again. But yeah.
So Aniket, I was reading something very interesting about Magicpin. I read one news article where you guys said that since the time you launched on ONDC, the number of transactions have really spurted.
Correct.
Right? The question in my mind was, in ONDC, if we were to go on ONDC, if any retailer were to leverage ONDC, the government provides the protocol. Now, if I have my own buyer app, okay, the government provides the protocol, the sellers provide the inventory. Who owns the CX?
So I think right now in this experience that you talked about, the buyer app is owning the CX as far as what the consumer is doing on the buyer app. And that's mostly where their responsibility ends. They can also do customer support, etc. Then there is a seller app which is connecting the buyer to the seller, and that's Magicpin in this case. It is our responsibility that everything on the buyer app is running smoothly and everything on the seller is running smoothly. And the whole fulfillment journey is actually carried out the way it is. And there are very, and we have been working with ONDC for a long time, and that's how you see the penetration and the news articles around it. We have figured out that each and every step, like a marketplace, and we are also a marketplace, like a marketplace, each and every step, there are unique, I would say, IPs, which you have to build at unique step, and you have to replicate all of that on ONDC. So I think one more, before I move to another point, one more point building on Niraj. It's very delightful to see that how technologies are complementing each other. You talked about personalization, and you talked about when a customer enters the showroom, it will be known it's Niraj, right? What we are building through our technology, right now a lot of brands are running gift with purchase, right? So every time it's been a Bluetooth speaker for past 10 years, right? And the consumers have lost interest. So what Magicpin is doing, after your transaction is done, and if you qualify for a delight, customer delight, you will be given, let's say, a coffee. The message that goes to you is, hey, have a coffee on Being Human today, and from Being Human. And the technology predicts which is the nearest coffee shop. So if it's a Starbucks, he will see on his app that you have got a Starbucks coffee, or you have got a Momos, or a Taco Bowl taco, and the person can choose it in food, in grocery, in electronics, in travel, all the other categories. So, and that's something we have seen very great traction from the customers and anecdotal evidence that, hey, we were very happy, we got...
Better than loyalty points.
Yeah.
Ranjit, if I can just chime in a word here. So one of the other things that we tell our retailers, that while we talk a lot about CX, which is customer service, we actually sensitize them about what constitutes to us customer disservice as well, right? So something similar to what you mentioned, most brands have email campaigns, mobile campaigns going out. I get SMSs from a bank who's saying, congratulations on your usage of credit cards. We are giving you like a 5 lakh rupee loan. I closed my account with that credit card probably 6 years ago. I still get it, right? And we use analytics therefore, right, of what we have to do targeted campaigning. Exactly like saying, they don't send me a free coupon for a tea because I'm a coffee drinker.
Yeah.
Recognize.
So quick list, Vivek, what are your 3 top metrics to measure that your CX is on the right track? Like, is it open rates? Is it just your top line? Is it some kind of NPS score?
So we currently are measuring a lot of that in our D2C site. And there the metrics are very simple. How much is the card drop off and what's my conversion to the card?
How much is the card drop off?
Card drop off and conversion to the card. So that's one good place to see whether the consumer is satisfied with the journey so far. If you ask me frankly, NPS, yes, it's a good thing, but
It's an example. I mean, just
yeah, it doesn't still give me finer nuances of what's really going on with the consumer. Today, there are just far too many NPS rating that the consumer has been doing. For me, I see a lot of that in my offline space in terms of repeat consumers, frequency at which the consumer is coming back to me, and how their lifetime usage of various categories is changing. So that's another place that tells me that I'm on right track as far as the offline CX at the store is concerned. So these are the two key things that I'm tracking right now. We're in process of implementing more things, and I'm sure about a year's time we will be able to track a lot more. I don't know if I would want to be spooky enough to tell the consumer by their name when they walk in, because it's also something that it can be considered intrusive. As a brand, I don't know if that's something that will excite us. But what will really excite us is if I'm able to give a solve to the consumer on their size, on their alteration length, if I can give them suggestions basis their past purchase at my store. So those are the things which I would really look forward to in future, because that's what is brewing in our minds and in our piece of work.
Rahul, would you want to, I mean, same question, but if you can just focus on the measures that you track to ensure that you are providing good service. Like probably I give a wrong example of NPS. NPS actually measures customer satisfaction. But metrics that you use to track that you are delivering the service that you ought to be delivering, what you promise to the customer.
Yeah. So I'll just give an example basically. So we wanted to integrate our online and offline experience for the customer, and also we had one of the mall activities that was happening in for us, and one of the challenges we have seen from offline team is basically how do you get the right customer to the mall for that activity, right? And we have a lot of database that we have from our EBOs, from our website, and we can do geo-targeting now in marketing. When you do digital marketing, you can do geo-targeting, right? So you can pick up pin codes, and considering we had customer database of who are interacting with the brand in watch category, and that particular event was happening for G-Shock. So we could understand which customer is browsing for G-Shock as a category, right? And where is that customer present? Now the beauty of digital marketing is that you can take the pin codes where you expect the customer to come for that particular activity, which we are doing specifically for G-Shock, to understand the beauty of the product. It's a very tough watch, so we had certain activities and some anchors were there, and some participants will participate and get some gifts, etc. So normally you will when you do this activity, you will just have to depend on the what all walk-ins are happening in a mall, right? But here since we had the database of the customers who are interacting with us on the watch category, and we also understood where they're coming from because they bought from us in the past. So we did digital marketing on those pin codes, and in that mall during that event, our overall sales, which is actually I would say there's nothing more truer than the impact on the sales, right? Went up by 3x in our EBO as well as our MRT stores, right? So it's the beauty of technology where you're bringing, online is always seen as in conflict with offline, but with this new approach, basically, you're merging two worlds together. And for a customer, think about it, if we are not doing this and just sending random SMS or notifications to customers across India that come to this mall and do this activity, the customer will think, okay, I'm sitting in Chennai, activity is happening in Mumbai, do you really think I'll do that? So a customer dissatisfaction will increase towards the brand that you don't really care. You're just throwing SMSs all across, right? But when you do this very objectively towards the customer where it will make sense, they also feel important that, this activity is actually for me. So it's more personalized, and some customer is just sitting in Chennai and cannot participate. He is not been exposed to this also. So I think that's I think one of the good examples I could bring in from customer experience where.
There are certain measures like you measure your on time in full deliveries. some retailers call it perfect deliveries. So from the time the customer has ordered to the time the customer has received the product, you have met all your promises and the customer has not returned any of it. So that could be one measure.
Or Google ratings, right? Like
Google ratings could be your bounce, the number of bounce customers, both online. Correct. Mostly people measure it online, but you can also with the modern technologies measure it in store.
You do measure
Pankaj,
conversion
are
in
you
store,
doing
right?
some of this
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Ajio?
definitely. Like right from conversion to on time in full, all those and bunch of these matrices which I think we all in one way or other would be using. But if you ask me personally, I say all these are important matrices to measure. But for me, the ultimate measurement or ultimate proof of delightful customer experience, I would pick 3 matrices: repeat purchase orders, or repeat buying, average order value, and customer support request density. To me, those would be, if those are improving, I mean that it's, so personally I believe
No,
those.
so if you're seeing that the number of orders online are increasing, then it could be proof that you're doing something right online. So Niraj, with your experience, anything that you think retailers should be measuring?
So I think for customers CX, basically we've I think today got about 17 KPIs that we measure, but I'm not going to list that.
Just 3,
The
top
first
3.
one, or I'll just list one. For offline stores, we tell a customer to measure footfall versus conversion ratio, because I think that's the top level metric. If that is low and benchmark compared to benchmarks, then I think you're doing something wrong. And then there are deep dives you click and drill and figure out what are the problems for that to be low. Online, I think everybody has spoken your, page list, page detail views versus actual conversions. I think that's the top one I would say for online.
Subhashini, any views?
Yeah, I'll speak specific to payments. But I think from a CX point of view, what we measure and what we would encourage our retail customers to measure would be the transaction success rates, the transaction processing time, and that kind of ladders up to your average billing wait times. Because what basically we sort of measure and monitor the checkout experience. And in the omni space, which we are playing in, what we would be tracking is the conversion of online visitors to converting into actual footfalls and eventually to transactions. Because the challenge now is that let's say 1,000 people are visiting your website, that, but you don't know out of that 1,000 how many actually went to a shop, and out of X people who went to this, you don't even know that. Forget the next leg of knowing of the people who came from online and visited a store, how many actually transacted. So that's the measure we are going after. Obviously, the objective is to have high conversions at each leg to absolutely delight our customer, which is the retailer. And and things like transaction success rates or processing time, billing wait times to us is hygiene. And I feel it should be hygiene for all retailers, because ultimately, if you want to answer your question, if you want to become good to great, you can't be looking at hygiene. You have to be constantly figuring out and discovering what's the next big thing that you need to get ahead of.
Rohit, you want to add, or you feel everything
I
is
think
covered?
it's mostly covered. I would stress on footfall to conversion ratio as well, because that's the key metric. But there's another metric. If you're really into omni-channel or multi-channel retail, you can also look at the overlap rate and the conversion rate for online to offline and vice versa, because we tend to look at data in silos, but we don't tend to group it together and see like what is the overlap rate. So I think that would be a new measure which you could kind of look at. But the caveat is that you have to see it in terms of the value out of that, rather than is that the value increasing or is it decreasing?
Aniket, anything you want to add?
So yeah, we actually run a very large program with 100,000 retailers on the program, where they track customer ratings of each of the store. So we track it monthly, and let's say customer rating. So just like Google rating, you can, after you have completed your transaction at the offline store, you can rate the transaction. So how it works is, for a mall in Delhi or any part of the country, we give rewards to the customer associate who has given best experience in the mall, or a customer associate who has given the best experience for the brand All India. So we run this, and I think anecdotal evidence is that for some of the brands, we have improved their Google rating and Magicpin rating by almost like from 3.8 to 4.2, and that has led to around 7% increase in organic footfall of the store. So trying to do it with technology and very good, I would say, response in the beginning.
So I think that sound indicated that we are at the end of our time. I still had my questions on generative AI and what they will do for customer experience, but I'll park that and quickly check with the audience whether they have any questions for this panel. Any questions? Okay, so we'll call it a wrap. Thank you, everyone.